I also wanted to talk about so some guy, I don't know who this guy is, but there's some guy who was a barback at the bar that I'm working in, and he was also a barback somewhere else or something, but he'd like, so this is some black guy, and he'd like cut up his girlfriend or something and like put her in a closet, and then he like told the father of the girlfriend that the I really don't know. There's basically been a murder in Nashville. And like everyone is talking about this. And like I'm new in town. Like I have no fucking clue. Like I read the news, but I feel like the news that I care about is like I care about like literacy, the bars that are opening, the bars that are closing, and other places to get a burger. Like that's the type of shit that I read. So I'm not reading like murder mysteries. And also someone was like, "Oh, you should watch Dahmer." Like I'm not watching the Hulu Jeffrey Dahmer special. Like if it's not clear that that's not my vibe, like bro, that's not my vibe. Like I'm not watching that. Like I don't do horror films. I don't do trauma porn. I don't do any of that. Like I really feel like the social interactions that I have in the real world are already complicated enough. I could go like step by step of the interactions that I had today that were like already like extremely complicated. Like I literally had to like acknowledge so many things that like went wrong. Like today was like not a good day at all. Today was like a pretty bad day. Like quite a number of like insufferable things happened, and some kind of way I still managed to kind of like make it through to find some positive light out. And like I don't know, like I just think it's nuts that like we continue to call the society a community when if there's someone who's like cutting up their girlfriend, like how do you not know that that happened? Like how is somebody like dragging body parts into an apartment and nobody sees it, nobody says anything? And also like there's a whole human who like goes silent for like days and nobody notices. Like come on. Like it sounded like she had a job. She was supposed to report to work somewhere and she didn't, and like nobody cared. Be serious, guys. Like, and everyone wonders like what's wrong with society, and everyone talks a lot about like protecting their children and all these things. It's like you can't really expect for that shit to be real when you don't give a shit about anybody else's children. I don't know who this girl was, but she's somebody's daughter. She's somebody's daughter. Okay, like, and some people cared about her. You might not know who it is. You might not know who her real best friend was. You might not know who the person that she truly loved was. You might not know who her parents are, and it doesn't matter. For her, there were people in her life that cared about her. And this some guy, not only did he like take her life, but he murdered her. And then he like kept going with his life, and so many people gaslit the fact that like that was okay. And it just makes me so fearful because like I feel like already society is so hard for women. It's like you just try to like live and you try to be fair, and you try to be like kind, and you try to have experience, you try to like humanize yourself. You try to go to therapy to have more empathy. All these things that you try to do, and at the end of the day, it's like there's still some guy who like probably sees you as trash and who thinks it's like acceptable to just like take your whole life. Like he literally cut up her body and put her in a closet. And he wasn't like he was living in some like isolated part of town. Like he had neighbors. He had a landlord. Nobody could figure this out. Like how is that possible? But I'm not confused anymore, and I'm not even surprised because, like, on this channel, we've covered the other guy who had he had two black girls in his basement, and he was driving his children to school every day. And the school administrators would watch him. They would watch him drop off his kid and go home and pick up his kid, and he was at the PTA meetings and all these things. Meanwhile, right, like, he had neighbors on both sides of his house who every day they never heard the screams and cries and scratches of literal humans in his basement that he was torturing. They didn't even know. How is that possible? Like, in my worldview, I don't see how that's possible, but the fact that that story is real lets me know that that is possible. And that all of the other people don't care. Like, the school administrators, they don't care. Okay? Like, the other parents in the community, they don't care. Okay? The police officers, I don't know if you guys really looked into that story, but they all, like, there were some people in the community who were, like, saying, like, there are youth abductors in this neighborhood, and they told them, they said, no, that's not true. We don't believe you. What? So they didn't even look into it. The only reason this story came to light is because private investigators, like, looked into the story and then found out that it was real. But if the private investigators, they weren't even private investigators, dude. They were, like, literal, like, youth college journalists. They were, like, black college journalists who had a, like, school newspaper, who literally started talking to other people in the community, and they were like, yo, there are some black girls who have been missing and we don't know where they are. Somebody should look into this. And they did it as, like, they weren't even, like, real journalists, bro. They were just, like, dudes with laptops who were like, okay, we're just gonna go ask a couple questions about this. And they uncovered a whole serial killer and an abductor. Like, bro, this is the society that we live in, and I just think it's nuts. It's just nuts. It's like every time people try to report shit and they're like, this is happening to me, everyone else gaslights it, and they're like, no, this isn't really happening. We don't really care about this. And then it hits their doorstep, and all of a sudden, now we want to put it on the news. Now we want to make it the front page news story. Now we're all supposed to care. Well, how do I say this? Like, news story America, like, all of these things have, like, been happening. And there have been a lot of communities who have, like, normalized this trauma porn. And once you've, like, normalized this really traumatic behavior, there's not really any going back. Because the thing that happens is, like, time really does, like, start to heal some shit. Like, you can really start to normalize some abnormal behavior. Like, some stuff that's really abnormal. People go along with it for a certain period of time, and all of a sudden they think this is, like, this is the regular way that it's supposed to go. That's just, their worldview becomes, like, this thing that is completely abnormal. They start to think that it's normal, and there's no one to correct them. Who's going to correct them? There is no one. It's not you. And then the thing is, as people start to, like, self-correct, they start, like, ruining systems and opportunities for people who really try to do the right thing. One day this will make sense to the rest of you. But to the people who are keeping up with my side of the story, I want you to hear it from my POV, my point of view. Because I realize that we have to talk first. Because we have to make sure that the people who are coming behind us don't make the same mistakes the retards who are moving with us make. See, like, their kids are the ones who are going to correct them. It's their children who are going to look at them and say, Mom, you're trash. And then we have to be, like, we have to say it first. We have to say, hey, Karen, your children think you're trash. and they're like, ha 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 ha. Then their children look at them in the face and they say, like, Mom, you're trash. And then we all sit there and just listen and make commentary videos. TikTok explanations. That's how this works. So, to the people coming in the future, 12 months from now, Olivia said it first.